Alright, so this is my mother-in-law's 2007, I think it is. 2006 or 7, one of the two. Ford Freestar minivan. And my in-laws bought this minivan brand new. So they've had it for, what, 19 years now, almost? And from what I understand, it has never been tuned up. And it's got about 150,000 miles on it. And the last year or so, it has started to produce classic symptoms of misfire, and it finally has gotten to the point where now it's flashing the check engine light for a cylinder number 2 misfire. So, stupid me volunteered to do a tune-up on this thing. I hate working on front-wheel drive stuff. Hate it. It's a nightmare. Anyway, so on these Freestars, you can't get to the back of the motor, as you would imagine, and that's where the ignition coil is, as you would imagine, along with 3 of the spark plugs, as you would imagine. So what you got to do, I've already taken the upper cowl off. You've got, see these holes here? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's got those little plastic screws in it, screw rivets if you want to call them that. So you have to use a Phillips and unscrew the screw first, and then you can get a cat claw under there and pop the plastic rivet out. So 4 of those, and then it's got these clips right here, and those will just release the upper cowl and it'll snap out of place. Now when you do that, be careful, because your washer fluid hose is going to go down through here. So I came over here and disconnected it right there. See, let me get a little bit of better view on it. So that's where I decided to disconnect the washer fluid from, because I didn't want to screw around with a grommet up here that goes through the lower part of the cowl. So now I'm to the point where I'm taking the lower cowl off, and it's got a whole bunch of screws. And when you take these out, you'll notice that some of them are, well, you can't see it. Sorry, some of them are really short and some of them are quite a bit longer. So what I'm doing is, as I go here, every time I take one out, I mark it. You can see right here, I marked it with an L. Marked that one with an L to tell me, hey, that's where a long screw was. Over here I had a couple of short ones. I'm going to do that all the way across, and then I can take this lower cowl out. And once I get that out of the way, I'm hoping that then I'll be able to see the ignition coil and stuff back there that I need to be able to see. So I nearly forgot to mention that, of course, before you take the upper cowl off, you got to remove the wiper blades. Now on this Freestar van, it has the nuts on there. I've seen some vehicles where there'll be like a snap clip in there that'll snap into place once you press it down onto the splines, and you have to activate a little trigger over here to get them to come off. But this one just had a couple of, I think they were 15mm nuts on both of these, and then just raise the wiper arm off and wiggle it, raise it up rather, and wiggle it, and it'll come off. So obviously you got to take the wipers off before you can do any of this. And then I got 3 little 10mm over here around this wiper arm, if you want to call it that. And now this thing is loose and ready to come out. Her cabin air filter down in there was absolutely filthy. Where'd this thing go? Check this out. This thing was just all mangled up. It's got bugs and everything in it. There's no telling how long it's been since that thing was changed. So that's going in the trash can, and we're going to put a new one in when I put this back together. So let me go ahead and get this lower cowl out of the way, and then we'll try to see what we can see down in there. Alright, so when I move that lower cowl out of the way, very first thing I notice is that you can disconnect the wiper motor right there at that connection. So go ahead and do that. It looks like you just squeeze it right there and pull it out. So I'm going to go ahead and disconnect that so I can move this whole thing out of the way. Alright, and there was also one little connector right here. Not 100% sure what that one's for. Maybe it's just to tell you when the hood is open and closed. Don't really know. But anyhow, looks like with the lower cowl removed, now I can show you where this ignition module lives. So as you can see, it's right there on the back of the motor. No way that I can hold a camera in there and show you as I unbolt that thing. But just make sure you keep your wires in the correct orientation. Obviously you want to, if you have to, I think what I'm going to do is get a piece of paper and just make a little diagram That way I can remember, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and put the plug wires back where they go on the new one. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Now you can see where, I mean, you can follow the wires down to the spark plugs. Now on the back of the motor, obviously they're going to be a little bit tougher to get to, but it looks like there's going to be access back there now that the cowl's removed. So hopefully not too bad of a job. Going to go ahead and do plugs and wires and an ignition module. And I did buy all Motorcraft stuff because, as you can see, this is a job that is not fun, so you don't want to have to do it again. So I got a bunch of Ford Motorcraft stuff on the way, should be here tomorrow, and I can start swapping it over. I got the plug wires out and I put some painter's tape on each wire and numbered it. That way when I get the new plug wires tomorrow, I can just lay these out and put the new ones out next to them and kind of match up some lengths, you know, and mark them where they go. So I did do that, and then I got the ignition module out. This does look like, look at this. It does look like the factory original one from 19 years ago. That's pretty wild. So you're gonna have 8mm screws, and this is how it goes in the van, like this, with the connector on the back. So you can see you got 2 screws on this side and there's just 1 screw on that side. They're all the same size. Now unfortunately you can see that this connector broke. See that? But it's not a big deal since I'm swapping this out. If you were ever back there working and you were not planning on putting a new ignition coil in there, you would have to be very careful with this, because with all the heat cycles back there on the back of the motor, this stuff gets real brittle. So just keep that in mind. And also the connector on the wire harness that plugs into this, I noticed that Rock Auto does sell those connectors. So if you feel like your connector's getting brittle, you can buy new ones and splice them in. But I was real careful with it. Hopefully it should be okay. So everything is out now except the spark plugs. Might as well put some new spark plugs in this thing. The front ones, I can see them. It does not look like that it's going to be any fun. Like there's one right down there. That's your number 6. Well, it's not going to focus. But there's your number 6 down there, 5, 4. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Front ones look like you can get to them. The back ones are going to be 100% by feel. And I hate doing stuff like that. Gosh, that is going to suck back there. Now on the ignition module, it goes, of course this is toward the firewall back here. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you got to keep that in mind. The ignition module does not match up with the cylinder diagram on the engine perfectly. These do, but over here you got 4, 5, and then 6 in the middle. So keep that in mind. So anyway, time to get the old plugs out, start trying to get the new plugs in, and then we can start routing some plug wires. I will say this stuff was pretty reasonable. I got a new Motorcraft ignition coil, I got a new set of Motorcraft plug wires, and I got a set of Motorcraft spark plugs, all for $100 from Rock Auto. So you can't really beat that with a stick. That's one good thing about these old vehicles. You can at least buy parts pretty cheap. Alright, time to put the new spark plugs in. I've already started on the front here, and got the number 4 over there done. Sorry you can't hardly see it, but I got the number 4 down there done. Now I'm working on number 5, and it is really a pain. The front is going to be better than the back, but even here in the front you just have no room to work. I mean, I can barely get my hands down in here because the fan and everything is in the way. I am dreading, absolutely dreading doing those back ones, but got to try and get it done. Once I get the plugs in there, might even get my father to come up here and give me a hand. I'm getting wore out already. but once the plugs are in there, I don't think the rest of it's going to be too bad. The ignition module sits right there on the back of the engine. It's not too bad. The plug wires, not too bad. You can do them by feel a whole lot easier, and then just put the cowl and all that back on. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. But the difficult part of this job is getting the plugs out and swapping them out. You got to make sure you're careful. You don't want to crack a plug, so you definitely got to use a spark plug socket, and you just got to go slow and take your time and pay attention on that, and don't over torque them. So gonna try and finish that up, and then we'll get that ignition module back on. So I got my new stuff here from Rock Auto. This is the least expensive place to buy this stuff. Here's the new plug wire set, and these are gray, and they actually say Motorcraft on them, so apparently somebody has done a tune-up on this thing at some point, because the plug wires that were on there were black and they didn't say Motorcraft on them anywhere. And the plugs that I'm taking out of this thing are Autolite plugs instead of Motorcraft. So I think somebody at some point in the last 150,000 miles actually has done a tune-up on this. I wonder if they cussed as much as I've been cussing. This is why I don't buy front-wheel drive vehicles. Absolutely refuse to own a front-wheel drive vehicle. This is why. Because even routine stuff is a pain in the ass. This is also why I went to college and got myself an office job. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and try to finish this thing up and get this van moved out of the way, because I want to get my car out so I can go to the car show downtown tonight. And this thing is currently dead where it's sitting. So let's get this finished. Alright, so I got the front 3 spark plugs done. Not gonna lie, I was worn completely out. Got my dad to come up and help. He did the back 3 spark plugs. So got the spark plugs in, put the new Motorcraft wires on. The like I said, the wires and the ignition module are not really bad at all once you get those 2 cowl pieces out of the way. And so now let's start it up and see what happens. Oh man, it is hot in here. It's like 90 degrees outside today. Oh man. Purrs like a kitten. What are you talking about? Purring like a kitten. That's awesome. So hopefully no more check engine lights. Hopefully no more tune-ups for a long time. Heck, the motor should be worn out in this thing before it needs another tune-up. Alright, that's all I got for now. Gotta go take a shower and get ready for the car show downtown. But I am glad this job is over with, let me tell you. Not much fun. Hopefully it helps somebody. We'll talk to you later.